NNPC names suppliers of adulterated petrol. Senate moves to amend Pensions Reform Act of 2014. And all gains on U.S. crude stocks amid strong demand as stocks around the world open mixed this Thursday. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Leah Katun Babatunde. Good morning and welcome to Business Express. We'll begin by informing you that the adulterated petrol in circulation was supplied by 4 companies and shipped from Belgium. The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Malik Hulu Kyari, gave the details in a meeting with representatives of the affected companies in Abuja. Mio Gidi reports. Okay, before we get to that film, let's inform you that just some days back, the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) debited 14 banks a total of 356.2 billion naira for failure to meet cash reserve requirements (CRR). The debit is the first suffered by banks in the new year 2022 and is led by Zenith Bank with a charge of up to 170 million naira. We'll be discussing these and other issues in the banking sector, and our guest is a financial expert and former banker Boniface Chizia. Good morning, Mr. Boniface. Mr. Boniface, can you hear me? Will you be kind enough to unmute your mic, Mr. Boniface, so we can have this discussion? Mr. Boniface.
Mic open. It's
Can
not
you?
easy.
Okay, great. Nice to have you back. Now, I will start by asking you. Many Nigerians, of course, are asking, how does this affect me, and will this lead to losing their deposits in their various banks? I mean, is there any cause for alarm when we get to hear that banks have fallen short of the CRR requirements and are having to be debited by the central bank?
Well, I think that bank customers have no cause to worry. I mean, the banks are well protected. We're talking about debits. And these debits are due to the fact that they've not observed certain guidelines they're supposed to keep in their operations. And some of these debits are due to the fact that they were charged customers. So it doesn't mean that the banks are under any threat whatsoever. And so banks are, the banking population, banking customers should go about doing their banking business with all confidence. And as I've said before, central bank is here ready to support any bank that runs into illiquidity situation. And so there shouldn't be any cause for alarm. All that says to us is that the banks have not been disciplined enough, to keep to the terms of their operations, what has been given to them by the regulator. So that's all that says. And so it's between the banks and the regulator to make sure that things are tidied up and that this doesn't happen going forward. But the extent of debit is not enough for anybody to feel that the banking operation, the safety, the integrity of the banks is going to be undermined.
Okay, so Mr. Boniface, can you look me straight through your camera and tell me what will be the implications for the deposit money banks affected by this sanction?
Well, I don't think that for them, all it does is issue of the integrity they bring to the table. And so if you're a bank manager, you manage a bank director, and the bank has been surcharged, has been debited for infractions, and it doesn't speak well. It means that you are not keeping to the terms and conditions under which you are expected to operate. So that's exactly what it says. And I begin to feel that if we want to clean up the system, that the regulator will begin to maybe target the bank directors, the managing directors of banks, personally, to make sure that this is corrected. But I think that it doesn't say much. All it just says is that the banks are not being disciplined in their operations. And the cause of this, could be many and varied. So it's not something that you will just sit down and say, because the bank has been debited, then it means that the bank is not safe. No, the bank is safe, but it means that they've not been, their integrity is up for question, that's all.
Oh, okay. So now that we're talking about discipline, perhaps we just step back a little bit and ask, roughly half of the nation's commercial banks are affected by these hammers. So, and of course, people would ask, yes, there might be no cause for alarm, but how did our banks get into this default state? Are they lacking in strategy regarding their dealings with customers?
Well, I think that sometimes you find that in fairness to them, they are overwhelmed with their operations. So certain things they might not be able to do. And also, if you lead a bank, sometimes you cannot vouch for the integrity of your staff, all of your staff. So you have many staff, employment, and then some could be deviant, in their operations with the values they bring to the table. Might not be sort of values you want to see. So some of these penalties that the banks have incurred, some are due to the fact that maybe people wanted to cut corners. And some are due to the fact that the banks have some difficulties in keeping to the guidelines. And so there are instances where sometimes it's easier for a bank to pay the penalty than to comply. And so that's the part of the matter. So sometimes you can, if you want to be Machiavellian, you could say, look, we'll default and pay the fine, instead of going through this stringent requirement.
Wow. So are members of the public, will I say, averse to going to deposit money banks for credit?
Yes. No, they should not be averse to deposit money bank for credit. Getting credit for a bank is not a walk in the park. If you try to get money, if you don't have a collateral, for instance, no bank is going to give you any money. And so it's not the banks that have done this. What the guidelines that the banks have been given, would insist, that the banks would ask you for collateral before you. So if you really, a credit extension in our banks in Nigeria today is like a pawnbroking. So I deposit my papers of my building, the house I own in Victoria Land, which you are sure you want to sell. You have many people wanting to buy. And then you want a credit that is maybe 100. That you get it quickly. And that shouldn't be banking. I think that we need to go beyond this. I don't know how we're going to do this. Address it in such a way that a bank should do proper credit appraisal. And that's what it's supposed to be. And when you've done the credit appraisal and you're convinced that this is a viable proposition that the bank would want to fund. Then, just in case of an eventuality, something you can't anticipate anything, something happens that you didn't anticipate, then you want to make sure that you have a fallback situation. That's exactly what it should be. But it's gradually becoming that if you have papers to your house and then that house is going to be valued 1,000 times what the money you want, then you get it. But that's not banking. That's pawnbroking.
So, how do we balance this concern now? Because when we look at some other clients, for instance, you can actually access credit, especially for startups, without dropping any collateral. You have a project the banks will review and see that it is actually worthy to put in their money there because the returns will come back. Is it that people are not meeting up with the standards required over here, or the banks are not looking deeper in that regard?
Well, I think that, let me say upfront that there are lots of, because of the pandemic, there are lots of funds out there that you could access now with the conditions relaxed. The Central Bank, for instance, has put out lots of funding for small and medium-scale enterprises, for various businesses, in an attempt to make sure that we get the economy working. So the pandemic caused a slowdown, even since it got ground to a halt. And Central Bank has put out there are lots of fundings that you can access. And so part of the problem is that even our business people, some don't come prepared, for the business. And so if you want to do business and then you don't have simple bookkeeping, you don't have any records of what has happened, you have an ongoing business. If it's a startup business, like you just said, then we are talking of venture capital. So you have to find an organization that is purposely targeted at doing this. Because you see, when you don't have history of operations, you don't have a record of operations, and the bank is going to give you money, it's going to be difficult to get that from the regular banks, deposit money banks. It's going to be difficult to get that because they want to leverage on your history. And like I said earlier on, they said, of course, prepare to come and give them assurance, you deposit some papers, collateral, that made them want to do it. So, but if a business is prepared today, there are lots of funds out there for SMEs in this dispensation, which businesses can access with conditions that are not too stringent. You don't need to deposit any collateral and so on and so forth to access them. And so our businesses should be up and doing. So any business person that claims today that they're not able to access funding for their business, then they're not prepared, to play in this environment.
Okay, so let me deviate a bit. What do you make of the downward review of bank charges as contained in a recently published guideline by the Apex Bank?
I think it's a wonderful development. All it says is that Central Bank it's on top of its job. That's all it says. There was a time, for instance, when if you withdraw money from a platform that's not of your banks, you pay some money. At some point in time, it was said if you withdrew up to 2, the third time you paid, and so on and so forth. There was an outcry. And so I think that's the process of reviewing the charges, particularly as you review them downwards. That's a welcome development. So it means that the Central Bank is on top of the jobs, is doing its monitoring and so on and so forth, and then it's looking at areas where these charges could be reviewed. And so I think that we should commend Central Bank for doing that. But also, in doing this, there's a note of caution which we want to sound. That this mentality, that people think that banks are a very profitable business, and so we don't want to kill the goods that bears the golden egg. So we need to be very careful. So let us not go for the banks, but let's make sure that where charges are not due, we cannot justify. The logic of such charges is questionable, and those are targeted. For instance, where banks have overcharged customers and they have been asked to refund, that's a wonderful thing to happen because it returns confidence to the banking public that the regulatory authority is doing what it's supposed to do.
Okay, so in one breath, can you briefly cap your take on the IMF's recent advice, I would say, to Nigeria about the foreign exchange rates?
Well, I think that the IMF has it's been consistent, with its advice, so it's nothing new. And then also, we've also been consistent in trying to respond, in the way and manner we think that it's acceptable to us. It's quite clear that this regime, this administration today in Nigeria, has made it clear that they are not prepared to float the naira. They can't float the naira. There's no market for dollars in this economy. So what do you float? If all the depreciation you've seen when this government came on board, the rate of exchange it's about 200 naira to a dollar. Today it's 400, and that's official window.
Oh, we've lost. Okay.
So you can have it's not allowable. If you try it, in fact, the rate of exchange could easily go to 1,000 naira to a dollar. So I think that's something that we have to be very careful about.
Okay, I must sincerely thank you, Mr. Boniface Chizia, for sharing your time with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Great. Have a nice day. So we move back to our initial story about the adulterated petrol in circulation that was supplied, according to reports from the federal government, by 4 companies and shipped in from Belgium. The chief executive officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPC, Mele Kolukiari, gave the details in a meeting with representatives of the affected companies here in Abuja. And Mia Ogidi reports.
The queues suddenly appeared at the filling stations. Reason initially not known, but on the 8th of February 2022, the Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority disclosed that there is an adulterated petrol in circulation. So, some filling stations under observation for product tracing. What the authority didn't tell Nigerians then was who are the suppliers, and that gap is what Mele Kolukiare, the CEO of the NNPC Limited, is filling.
NNPC investigations revealed the presence of methanol in 4 of the PMS cargos imported by our DSTP suppliers, including MRS, Emadev High Energy, AYM, Ekipi, Britannia U Consortium, Oando, and also our own company, Dick Oil. It is important to note that the usual quality inspection protocol employed in both load port in Belgium and our discharge ports in Nigeria do not include the test for percentage of methanol content, and therefore additive was not detected by our quality inspectors. We'd like also to emphasize that all defaulting suppliers have been put on notice for remedial actions, and NNPC will work with the authority to take further necessary actions in line with subsisting regulations.
The suppliers admitted.
We're going to work with NNPC to ensure that this issue is resolved.
It's one of our consortium member, Britannia U, that supplied the cargo, and we are working together in solving the problem.
We recognise that the NNPC is a long-standing trading partner of Litasco, and we're committed to help alleviate whatever problems there are in the country at the moment.
Working with the government to address the situation means taking the product off the market, and other issues may also follow. Mie Ogede, NT News.
And we move from there to the commodities market. The World Bank, through the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, has been facilitating transparency in audit processes in the 36 states of the Federation. It is a process that rewards states that achieved specific disbursement-linked indicators with grants. The state's Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Program for Results is now taking stocks. What are states doing with the resources granted to them? Let's find out in this report. In the last 6 years, Nigeria has entered a recession and exceeded twice. Development partners like the World Bank have supported the federal government in meeting the demands of subnationals. First, through budget support facility, and second, the road to recovery occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic and its impacts. The state's Fiscal Transparency, Accountability and Sustainability Sifters Program for Results has so far disbursed $120.6 million to 24 states that qualified in the first tranche and $175 million to 35 states in the second tranche. Jigawa State has opened her accounts and project books for public scrutiny.
The civil servant have seen the advantage of these reforms and is targeted towards supporting them. First, when they are working, they will get their salaries on time, and when they retire, they will get their gratuity on time, and when they start earning pension, they will get it on time. In fact, from 1 to 10th of the month, they get their gratuity. So they will work hard to sustain the whole project.
Government is consolidating on reforms amid reduced cash inflows that will deepen prudential spending and developmental engagements.
Today, we are talking of fiscal sustainability, revenue generation, diversification of the economy, and increased IGR across the entire country.
Jigawa State ranks third in consistency of achievements, and the SIFTers program is aggregating disbursement-linked indicators, DLIs, to reward transparency and accountability in the third and fourth rounds of grants. Surviving COVID-19 is next, as packaged by Musa Abubakar.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
I'm Pastor Olufunke Malomo, the CEO of Eripress International. We deal with family products like clothing and its accessories, daddy, mommy, teenage children, and even newborn babies. Yes, it's a complete shop for the whole family. Yeah. Business since last year has been a bit slow and not stable at all, and especially for the kind of business I do, especially this particular line of business, it's been really challenging. The continuous increase and devaluation of Naira compared to, and you have to buy products and all of that. It's been really challenging. But also, what has come out for me from pandemic is that I've learned to actually take different brands. Before now, I used to stick to particular brands, but I've learned to take different brands for different the classes of people that we have, so that when you come in, you have something to pick, something your pocket can afford, really, yeah. It did. I felt I couldn't move for like 3 months, over 3 months. I couldn't move, and that sets me thinking. Now I have other sources of business, like I do a lot of all this soap, dishwash, and all of that. That's another line of business that I've started, because I was stranded during pandemic because I could not move. I could not access my shop. I could not access my goods. All of them were locked in the shop for over 3 months. It was a trying time, but out of it, I learned a lot. I trained in so many other areas so that I can have sources of income, and that is where I am now. I have other sources of income other than this. No, I did apply, but I have not heard anything up till now. Maybe they are still considering some of us. I don't know. Yes, but I did apply.
Surviving COVID-19 series is brought to you in partnership with the
So local stocks are resuming this morning and positive after marginal gains yesterday. But let's join Nneka Oku on the global scene.
European stocks are expected to open around the flat line this Thursday as global investors are awaiting the latest reading of US inflation. The UK's FTSE index is seen opening 5 points lower at 7,637. Germany's DAX up 9 points and France's CAC 40 up 18 points. US stock futures were mixed early Thursday morning ahead of key inflation data expected later in the day. Dow Jones Industrial Average futures rose 0.07%, while S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 futures both traded in negative territory. In Asia, stocks were slightly higher. The Shanghai Composite rose 0.15%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index added 0.06%, and the Nikkei 225 in Japan gained 0.42%. Markets in Africa are set to open mixed this morning, with Tanzania and Mauritius already seen posting gains.
Thank you, Nneka. And of course, we end this edition of Business Express here. We value feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. All previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. We can also catch up with us on our social media handles. The program returns tomorrow at 3 p.m. Thank you for watching.
NTA, you can't beat the rich.
I'm actually a passionate baker. I don't rest until everything is done.
When I entered university, anytime I'm broke, I'll make cupcakes and go and sell to the other students.
Decorating cake it's an artistic thing, and art is, dynamic.
Join us on Baker's World every Thursday on the network service of the NTA. Baker's World, celebrating creativity. Don't miss it.
Everything is architected and designed by the Almighty.
Someone who is a Christian is someone who lives a life of Jesus Christ. And the life of Jesus Christ is a life of sacrifice.
Yes.
Hello, welcome to News at 10 on NTA News 24. We're live in Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musbat and we'll have with the news, the headlines. NNPC exposes identity of suppliers of adulterated petrol. Federal Executive Council approves Nigerian citizenship to 286 foreign nationals. Senate moves to amend the Pensions Reform Act 2014. Senate. Hello. Thanks a lot for staying tuned in, and we'll begin from the National Assembly, where the Senate is assuring Nigerians of innovations and effective service delivery from the new Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, a product of the Petroleum Industry Act 2021. This was when Senate Committee on Downstream Petroleum screened 5 presidential nominees for the authority. National Assembly correspondent Mobolaji Moribirin has the reports.
Before the committee are nominees as executive directors of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Authority. The legislators are pointing out critical areas of need and other lapses in the sector, stating how this could be addressed by the nominees if confirmed.
All this your petroleum experience, what are you going to bring to this new agency that you are going to?
Is for me to initiate the process of developing master plan of the gas infrastructure fund.
We can expand on possibilities, bringing investors to bridge the gap, not necessarily the oil company, but people who can see the good tariff in hauling some of these hydrocarbon derivatives.
For my own company, and I was being like a consultant, providing services to all these companies for these years.
The committee members expressed satisfaction with the expertise displayed by the nominees.
He's an eminently qualified candidate for this position.
I believe that this set of people have been put together to be able to deliver within the shortest possible time.
At least everybody is happy with the choice the president has made, and would like to congratulate him and to thank him for making the right decision.
Their nomination was announced on Wednesday plenary of the Senate last week. From the National Assembly, Mobolaji Moribirin, NTA News.
Away from the National Assembly, the Federal Executive Council has approved the request to grant Nigerian citizenship to 286 foreign nationals. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, announced this while briefing journalists after the Council's meeting presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports on these and other resolutions of the Council.
Over 600 foreign nationals from all parts of the world were said to have applied to be granted citizenship of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The significance of this is that Nigeria is, after all, one of the most sought-after places to live in, contrary to vituperative utterances against the country in some quarters.
These applicants are from virtually every part of the world. Americans, North and South, Australian, Europeans, Arabs, Asians, all over.
And after an extensive deliberation on the recommendations of the National Advisory Committee on Nigerian Citizenship, the Federal Executive Council approved that 286 of those desirous of being Nigerians and thoroughly scrutinized by relevant government agencies be granted the nation's citizenship.
So the number of those who are granted Nigerian citizenship and naturalization, who are desirous of being Nigerians, is 208. While those who are granted Nigerian citizenship by registration are women married to Nigerians, called Niger wives, are 78. They are men and women of integrity and good character.
The applicants, as the minister explained, are now eligible to be fully processed through administration of oath and indeed certification. Meanwhile, a 12.09 billion naira contract has been approved for the supply, installation and maintenance of IVO bridges in Nigeria's aviation industry.
This is part of all that we've been doing to reactivate the failing infrastructure within the country. And of course, Lagos being the major airport in the country, and this will make passenger facilitation easier, safer, and of course it will add value and create more efficiency within the system of that particular airport, and that this is also an ongoing program for all of our failed airports.
In the meantime, the federal government has formally closed out the contract for the construction of 17-story local content building in Yanagua by Elsa State.
You will recall that in 2020, Mr. President already commissioned that project. There were some ancillary works that had to be done to connect some of the buildings, and that was now presented to Council for the sum of 1.817 billion. So this is the end of this project, and we have completely delivered this to Nigerians.
The minister used the opportunity to confirm that President Muhammadu Buhari has been formally briefed on the adulterated fuel imported into the country, assuring Nigerians that the situation being effectively handled by appropriate regulatory agencies will soon be a thing of the past. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And critical national issues were brought to the front burner as President Muhammadu Buhari granted audience of a former Minister of Defense, General Theophilus Danjuma. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu again reports that their engagement Tuesday evening was their first since October 2020.
It was a warm welcome for the former defense minister on arrival at the official residence of the president Tuesday evening. President Muhammadu Buhari and General Theophilus Danjuma walked majestically to the dining table for a private dinner. Shortly after, the president and his guests retired for talks on critical national issues. Details of their discussions held behind closed doors for more than 1 hour were, however, not disclosed. General Danjuma's visit to the State House is coming barely 1 week after one of his mentees, Senator Emmanuel Bacha, came to the president to announce his defection from the PDP to the governing APC.
Last week, I went to see General Danjuma and I told him of my decision to cross over to the APC. We are actually his foot soldiers. And I said to him, I am crossing over. So he wished me well and asked that I should extend his pleasantries because I know the relationship that has existed between you. So for me, it is a homecoming. And I want to assure you, Mr. President, that the story of the party will change in Taraba State.
General Danjuma was a great Nigerian. That's all I can say. He's a great Nigerian. So I'm very pleased you are quite close to him. Yes. I told him I have been loyal to him when we were in uniform. The most important thing that he appreciated it and he put it on record. That leads to my success professionally and eventually here. Thank you very much indeed. You are genuinely welcome.
General Theophilus Danjuma served as chairman, Presidential Committee on the Northeast Initiative established by President Muhammadu Buhari. The president also granted audience to the founder and chairman of Oriental Energy Resources Limited, Alhaji Muhammadu Indimi. Alhaji Indimi, a philanthropist, came to express formal appreciation to President Muhammadu Buhari for the honor done to him by inaugurating some projects he executed in Borno State. They are the 2.5 billion naira state-of-the-art Center for Distance Learning and International Conference Center donated to the University of Maiduguri, as well as an aircraft hangar at Maiduguri International Airport. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Away from the State House, and here is a revelation that the adulterated petrol in circulation was supplied by 4 companies and shipped from Belgium. CEO of a Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mele Kyari, gave details in a meeting with representatives of the affected companies in Abuja. Mie Ogidi reports.
The queues suddenly appeared at the filling stations. Reason initially not known, but on the 8th of February 2022, the Midstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority disclosed that there is an adulterated petrol in circulation. So, some filling stations under observation for product tracing. What the authority didn't tell Nigerians then was who are the suppliers, and that gap is what Mele Kyari, the CEO of the NNPC Limited, is filling.
NNPC investigations revealed the presence of methanol in 4 of the PMS cargos imported by our DSTP suppliers, including MRS, Dev High Energy, AYM, Kifi, Britannia, U Consortium, Oando, and also our own company, Dick Oil. It is important to note that the usual quality inspection protocol employed in both load port in Belgium and our discharge ports in Nigeria do not include the test for percentage of methanol content, and therefore additive was not detected by our quality inspectors. We'd like also to emphasize that all defaulting suppliers have been put on notice for remedial actions, and NNPC will work with the authority to take further necessary actions in line with subsisting regulations.
The suppliers admitted.
We're going to work with NNPC to ensure that this issue is resolved.
It's one of our consortium member, Britannia U, that supplied the cargo, and we are working together in solving the problem.
We recognise that the NNPC is a long-standing trading partner of Litasco, and we're committed to help alleviate whatever problems there are in the country at the moment.
Working with the government to address the situation means taking the product off the market, and other issues may also follow. Mie Ogidi, NT News.
And so, fuel scarcity and long queues still persist at filling stations in Abuja, with motorists expressing frustration. Joseph Otsen went round the central area and reported that the black marketers are also cashing out on the situation.
It is another long minutes and even hours of waiting on queues for many motorists. Few filling stations selling petrol are witnessing large turnout of vehicles as others remain closed. Many cars are still struggling to come in as there is still a long queue out there. The motorists here are very frustrated. Many of them say they were not expecting this to happen.
I would say for like 30 minutes now, which is not the norm, which is not what it's supposed to be. Yes, it's quite disheartening that we have to go through this.
Some people say, when I close from work, I'll come and buy fuel. When you come, you see long queues there, and then you don't have enough reasons for you to see that there should be queues in Abuja. So it's very, very, very uncalled for, and people are suffering this so much.
For the marketers, the supply from NNPC has not been enough.
This queue just happened as the result of the adulteration product that been brought to our country. But thank God for government intervention. Government has sent the agencies to the depot to check all the trucks that loaded the fuel.
Though the price remained as 165 per litre inside the filling stations visited, black marketers are taking advantage of the situation to make fast money. The marketers believe the statement issued by NNPC that it has identified adulterated petrol supplied into the country and that it will be returning the product back to the suppliers is responsible for delay in distribution of the product to the marketers. They say if the situation does not improve, Nigerians may just have to suffer longer trying to access petrol. In Abuja, Joseph Otsen, NTA News.
Now let's get some live input of what is happening this morning as we join Ekene Ntalive live at one of the filling stations in Abuja Metropolis. Now, Ekene, thanks for joining us. Can you tell us your precise location and what the situation is?
Good morning, Musbao. Right now we are at Corn Oil in Central area, right opposite the NNPC towers here in Abuja. And as you can see right behind me, the queues are still here. Before you came on to me, I spoke to some motorists here. They say they've been waiting in the queue for like as much as 1 hour or even more than that. But the good thing is that the place is well coordinated and the lines are moving, even though slowly.
All right, have you been able to talk to any of the motorists, the road users about this situation? Are they aware of secrets just leaked by the NNPC, and what has been their reaction to it?
Okay, I spoke to many of them. Some are aware, some are not, about the availability of adulterated petroleum products in the fuel stations. But some of them that spoke to me say they've been lucky. They've not been able, they've not been affected by the bad fuel issue. Some are not so lucky. Like a couple of drivers I spoke to earlier said they were unfortunate to get the bad fuel and it affected their vehicle. They had to go to the mechanic to fix up their fuel tank, flush out the bad products.
Ekene Ndulue, thank you very much for the updates in the heart of Abuja, that's close to an NPC tower in the central area. Right now, this is about where we will have to pause to join our OB crew outside there for a live telecast. Thanks a lot for your time. We have more for you in the course of the day.
This is the network service of the NTA. We now join our outside broadcast crew for a live telecast. Please stay tuned.
We've earlier recognized the presence of His Excellency, the Minister of the FCT, who is here. Chief Femi Fani Kayode is also here. I want to recognize the presence of distinguished Senator Tokumbo Abiru, representing His Excellency Ashiwaji Bola Tinubu. Senator Tokumbo Abiru is here. Right Honorable Babangida Saido Ungoroje is here. All the distinguished dignitaries who are here, luminaries recognized earlier. We have done a little recognition. Alaji Adamu Maina Wadiri is here. Distinguished Chief Lancha Alaji Dahiru Mangal is here. Distinguished royal fathers across your state, led by His Highness the Mayor of Fika, Alaji Muhammadu Abali, even Muhammadu Idrisa, the Speaker of the Yobe House of Assembly, Right Honorable Ahmed Lawan Mirwan, honorable members of the House, all 24 of them from Yobe State are here. And of course, number 3 man in the country, distinguished President of the Senate, distinguished Senator Ahmad Ibrahim Lawal. Now I want to hand over to Mr. Ebere MFR for the continuation of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you, my dear brother. Thank you. Senator Ibrahim M. Ida is also here, and the Honorable Minister of Education is represented by the Permanent Secretary. So without much ado, let me, on your behalf, welcome here our chairman for today's occasion, His Excellency Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, GCOM. Yes. Please, let's put our hands together for him and welcome him here.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Your Excellency, the Senate President, Your Excellencies, governors here present, distinguished senators, members of the House of Reps, members of the State House of Assembly here present, our royal fathers, captains of industry, our chief launcher, and other co-launchers. Good morning and welcome to this occasion. While I cannot speak to why His Excellency Governor Maimala Buni kindly invited me to chair this occasion, I can tell you why it is that I gladly accepted the request. Firstly, it is an occasion concerning Yobe State. While I am, like many others here, I am from Borno, we of my generation, and indeed many of the current generation, cannot get our heads round the idea that Borno and Yobe are supposed to be two different entities. We are emotionally and culturally too glued to the idea of the old Borno. Indeed, the idea of the old Kanem Borno, that we shall forever consider what affects Yobe affects Borno and vice versa. I can say that at this occasion, I, and indeed the many faces I see from Borno, led by our leader, the Governor Babagana Umara Zulum, we stand and sit before you as sons of Yobe. The second reason why I'm very glad to chair this appeal fund is because it is about education. The importance of education in human development is, for me, very, very aptly captured by the injunction ascribed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that we should go as far as to even China to seek education. On a very personal level, I can attest to this divine injunction and inspiration. I stand before you today not because I was born into nobility or wealth, but simply because I had the privilege of being educated at home and abroad. Most of my contemporaries and none of my own family members have had the access to the factors of self-advancement through education that I have had. I therefore epitomize the fact that education is the foundation. Indeed, it is the key to a successful and fulfilling life. That is why I never hesitate to answer the call at any opportunity to be associated with the advancement of education. Now, so much as to why I am here today. And you? Why have you responded to His Excellency's invitation in such an impressive number? Each of you, I'm sure, bearing such fat checks in your pockets. It may well be that you all place the same value on education as I do, and in that case, I applaud you all. It may also be that you came, as I see you have from all nooks and crannies of Nigeria, out of a sheer spirit of solidarity for which we are all well known. I'm impressed by the presence of not only Their Excellencies, the state governors, our legislators, former governors, but the distinguished galaxy of philanthropists who are well known for championing all manner of worthy causes, including the advancement of education. Led by our chief launcher, Alhaji Dahiru Baromangal, each of our illustrious co-launchers will be called upon in alphabetical order as far as possible to make their donations and, if they so choose, deliver short messages of goodwill. In the course of the program, as you will see in the program copies before you, we shall be addressed by the Deputy Governor of Yobe State, who is the chairman of the organizing committee, His Excellency Idi Barde Gubana, by our chief host, His Excellency the Governor of Yobe State, and the President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmed Ibrahim Lawan, who himself is a son of Yobe. We shall also watch a short documentary by the media team of the Yobe State Education Trust Fund. In these presentations, you will be informed in detail of the devastation and setback to education caused by the Boko Haram insurgency in Yobe, the current state of education in Yobe, and the plans to address the challenges in the educational sector, which will cost an initial investment of some 25 billion naira. You will appreciate, I'm sure, that this is a huge amount beyond the capacity of the treasury resources of a state like Yobe. That is why the state government launched the appeal fund first in Yobe, where the citizens continue to contribute from their meager resources, but with huge generosity of the heart. It is hoped that after this national launch, we shall be well on our way to meeting our target. In this endeavor, I acknowledge the steadfast and continuing support of our international partners, many of whom are represented here today. I hope they'll continue to accompany us in our national aspirations. I thank you all for coming, and we shall continue with the order of events as in the program, as directed by the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. That was the opening remarks by His Excellency Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, who also is the chairman of this occasion. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we get underway, I want to very quickly recognize the presence of the Chairman, National Communications Commission, NCC, Professor Adeola Akande, representative of the Minister of Communication, Professor Aliyu Isa Pantami. Excellencies, I want to also recognize the presence of the representative of the Honorable Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation, Professor Abdullahi Mustafa, is the DG/CEO of the National Biotechnology Development Agency. Excellency, also I want to recognize the presence of the representative of General T.Y. Njuma, who is also the CEO of the T.Y. Njuma Foundation, Gima Toji. Hajia Inna Adamu Chiroma is also here, as is Mr. Atoro Kendero. He is representing development partners, international NGOs here in this occasion. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the occasion, His Excellency Ambassador Babagana Kingibe, has said it all, education. There is no substitute to education. And that the countries that have prospered and have moved forward have done so solely because of the quality of education that they are able to provide to their sons and daughters. And this is why we are here today, because His Excellency, the Governor of Yobe State, Honorable Mai Mala Buni, is keen to ensure that education is revived in Yobe State after many years of setbacks, not just by the Boko Haram insurgency, but also by fiscal and other security challenges bedeviling the state. We imagine out of those challenges now, His Excellency wants to make sure that our sons and daughters across the state have the best possible education. Thank you so much. I want to invite Mr. Ebere Young to continue handling the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while the chairman of the occasion was speaking, His Excellency, the Deputy Senate President, distinguished Senator Omar Gege walked in. Distinguished Senator, we welcome you. Thank you very much. We also want to welcome a few other senators that are here. Senator Yahaya A. Abdullahi, Senate Leader, we welcome you. Distinguished Obasani, Chairman, Senate Committee on Banking, we also welcome you. And Senator Mohammed Sani Musa 313, Chairman, Senate Committee on Service, National Chairmanship Aspirant, we also welcome you. Kogi State is here very, very powerfully. They're here with human resources and money. The governor is looking at me. And so the chief of staff to the governor, he just told me that the key to the bullion van from Kogi State is in his hand. So pharmacist Mohammed Jami Asuku, the key to the bullion van is in your hand. I welcome you. Commissioner for Solid Minerals, Kogi State, Bashiru Gego is also here. His Excellency Prince Dakbo Abiodun is represented by Engineer Noimot Salako Yedele, Ogun State Deputy Governor. And Malam Saliu Mustafa Turaki of Ilorin is also here with us. I welcome you. They say that education is a passport to the future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. And this maxim is clearly in the heart of His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of the state. He's been amazing, hardworking. In fact, I was told that he didn't leave here until 1 a.m. this morning, ensuring that this hall is set. Please join me as I welcome here the Deputy Governor of the state, His Excellency Idi Baride Gubana. Please, hardworking man, Chairman, Organizing Committee, please step forward here. And I think he has an uncanny resemblance to the Senate President too.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله عليه الكريم. Your Excellency, my Chairman, sir, I want to crave indulgence to make a plea before my speech, sir. Your Excellencies, His Excellency, the Executive Governor of the State, Orome Marabuni Churungujiba, took his time, despite his tight schedule, to one by one write the names of these personalities and gave us to disseminate the invitation letters. In an event where those letters were not effectively served, or in an event where other means of communication we use, such as the electronic media, prints, etc., which may not have sounded well. I, Idi Barde Gubana, Wazirin Fune, as the chairman organizing committee, I took the blame. Therefore, I apologize. The speech goes as follows. Your Excellency, the Senate President, Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim Lawan, Sardonam Bade, Ganuan Kebi, Argungu. Your Excellency, the Speaker of the House of Reps, ably represented, Your Excellency, the host governor, and the Chairman, APC Extraordinary Convention Planning Committee, Honorable Malabuni Chiroman Gujiba, Walin Damaturu Baraden Fika, Your Excellencies, other governors here present, Your Excellency, Ambassador Sa Babagana Kingibe, Chairman of the Cajun, the Chief Lancha, Alhaji Tairu Baro Mangal, Chairman Mangal Group of Companies, distinguished senators and members of the House of Representatives here present, honorable ministers of the Federal Republic of Nigeria here present, the Speaker and members of the University Assembly here, the Honorable Chief Judge and Honorable Grand Kadi, members of the Diplomatic Corps, co-launchers, honorable members of the University Executive Council, special advisors, liaison officers, and special assistants to Excellency, the Governor of Yobe State, local government chairmen, Your Royal Highnesses, Emirs and Mais, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. I am extremely honored to stand here on behalf of the good people and government of Yobe State, under the distinguished leadership of His Excellency Orome Malabuni, to welcome you all to this highly important event of history. Since our swearing-in on 29th May 2019, we have prioritized education, has maintained a deliberate policy to revitalize the sector. We have made tremendous efforts and put more resources to achieve a revitalization plan that was carefully achieved through elaborate collaboration and engagement. We have expanded our expenditure in education, and we are making efforts to turn the education sector to uplift the life of our people. We have realized that the treasury resource will not be adequate to achieve our plans. For this purpose, His Excellency, our esteemed Governor, approved the establishment of Yobe State Education Trust Fund and subjected it to the independent regulations of the Corporate Affairs Commission under a law of the Federation of Nigeria, and went ahead to appoint a board of directors composed of competent, distinguished, and credible personalities to manage the fund. Mr. Chairman, sir, respected guests, the panel touched on this segment of our reforms on funding for education in Yobe is the reason His Excellency invited you here to tap into your generosity, kindness, and compassion to raise a minimum of 25 billion naira for the trust fund, which we will invest and channel to our education sector to complement treasury financing by the state government. The fund will also seek partnership and collaborations with development and intervention partners to tailor out a roadmap for momentous and consequential interventions. This will be a legacy that will never regret contributing to by the special grace of God Almighty. On behalf of His Excellency Orome Malabuni, I welcome you all and convey you the utmost gratitude of the good people of Yobe State for honoring our invitation and to inform you their keen and high anticipation of your generosity and philanthropy in donating to our noble cause. Thank you, and Allah bless. Masalam.
Thank you so much. Excellency, the President of the Senate, Excellency, the Executive Governor of Yobe State, and other Executive Governors who are here, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. As has been mentioned, we are honored with the presence of distinguished dignitaries and luminaries who have joined His Excellency, the Governor of Yobe State, to support the revitalization of education in Yobe State. And the reason is they believe in his determination to move the state forward and to move the state of our education forward. And one of those distinguished individuals is Alhaji A.A. Rano, who is here. You are welcome, sir. We are very honored to have you here. Alhaji Awal Lawal Sarkin Sudan is also here. And we have the managing directors of banks and other financial institutions from across the country who are here. And I apologize for not being able to mention all the MDs of banks who are here. We have several of them joining us here today. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are so honored by your presence, and it goes to show that the very best for your best education is yet to come. Thank you so very much.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to also welcome here Alhaji Awal Lawal, Sarkin Sudan Gombe, who is here with us. I welcome you. Alhaji Sanusi Bala, Sarki Dawaki Metuta Gusso is also here. And the Honorable Speaker, Gombe State House of Assembly, is here representing His Excellency, the Governor of Gombe State. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the saying is very clear that education is not the filling of a pail, but the lighting of a fire. All of you here today are here to help Yobe State light the fire of education. You know why? Because education is the only and the strongest weapon through which we can change the world. And so, Your Excellency is the man that is leading that team